Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house in Austin. 23 people crowded around tables. My sister Jennifer stands up with her wine glass, smirking at me across the room. Let's toast to Lourdes, everyone. Still single at 28. Still living alone. Still waiting for Mr. Right. Laughter ripples through the room. My mother looks uncomfortable. My father stares at his plate. I stand up slowly, my hands shaking. Actually, Jennifer, I got married 8 months ago. I pull out my phone. Here's my marriage certificate. And here's proof you hid every single invitation. I need to take you back 14 months to explain how I got here, back to when my life changed completely. And I had no idea my own sister would try to destroy it. I work as a pediatric nurse at Dell Children's Medical Center in Austin. It's rewarding work, exhausting work, the kind that fills your heart and drains your energy in equal measure. I'd been single for 2 years. Not by choice exactly, but because I'd prioritized my career and hadn't met anyone who made me want to shift that focus. Then one Tuesday in September, 14 months before that awful Thanksgiving, a firefighter named Thomas Walker carried a 6-year-old boy into our emergency bay. The child had fallen from playground equipment, possible head injury, and Thomas had been first on scene. He stayed while we stabilized the boy, answering our questions about the incident, his voice calm and professional. But when our eyes met over that child's hospital bed, something shifted in my chest. He had kind eyes, the color of strong coffee, and hands that had held that scared little boy with such gentleness. After we confirmed the child would be fine and his parents arrived, Thomas lingered near the nurse's station. "You're really good at this," he said. "The way you talked to him kept him calm." "You kept him calm first," I replied. "That matters more than people realize." We talked for 20 minutes. I learned he was 31, had been a firefighter for 8 years, loved his job despite the hard days. He asked if I'd like to get coffee sometime. I said yes before I could overthink it. Our first date was that Friday. We went to a small cafe near Zilker Park, talked for 3 hours, and I didn't want it to end. He was genuine in a way I hadn't experienced before. No games, no pretense, just honest conversation and easy laughter. But there was a complication. Thomas was technically still married, though he and his wife had been separated for 11 months and divorce papers were filed. He was upfront about it immediately. Didn't want me to feel misled. His marriage had ended quietly. No dramatic blow-up. Just 2 people who realized they wanted different lives. Shed already moved to Dallas for a job opportunity. We dated carefully for those first 4 months while his divorce finalized. Nothing public, just quiet dinners and long walks and learning each other. I met his friends. He met mine. We built something real in those hidden months, away from public scrutiny and small-town gossip that follows firefighters and nurses in our professional community. His divorce became final in April, 10 months before that Thanksgiving. The relief on his face when he told me was palpable. We could finally stop hiding, stop being careful. We could just be together. I should explain about my family here because it matters. My sister Jennifer is 3 years older than me, 31 at the time. She'd been married to Brian for 5 years. They lived in a nice house in West Austin. Both had good jobs, Brian in tech and Jennifer in marketing. No children yet, though my mother asked about it constantly. Jennifer and I grew up in a household where competition was baked into everything. Who got better grades? Who had more friends? Who made our parents prouder? My father, Raymond, and my mother, Patricia, owned a small real estate business. They worked hard, provided well, but they also compared us constantly without meaning to. Jennifer always needed to be the center of attention, the successful daughter, the one with the perfect life. And for years, she was. She got married first, bought a house first, had the career trajectory everyone admired. I was the younger sister who worked long shifts at the hospital and came home to an empty apartment. Family dinners happened once a month at my parents' house. Jennifer dominated those conversations, talking about her latest marketing campaign or the vacation she and Brian were planning. I didn't mind mostly. I loved my work, loved my life. I just wished sometimes that my family would ask about my life with the same interest they showed in hers. For years, Jennifer made subtle comments about my single status. "Still no boyfriend, Lourdes. You're getting older, you know, clock's ticking." Maybe you're too picky. The family would laugh uncomfortably, and I'd smile and change the subject. When Thomas and I had been together for 2 months, his divorce, fresh and final, he took me to Zilker Park on a Sunday evening in June. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Wed spread a blanket under a massive oak tree, and Head packed a picnic. Simple sandwiches, strawberries, lemonade. I love you, he said suddenly, looking at me with those warm eyes. I know it's fast. I know we should probably wait longer to say it. But I love you, Lourdes. You make me want to be better. I kissed him instead of answering with words at first. Then I pulled back and whispered, I love you too. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. I know this is crazy, he said, hands shaking slightly. We've technically only been together 6 months, but I've never been more sure of anything. Marry me. Build a life with me. Let me spend every day trying to deserve you. The ring was simple, beautiful, exactly what I would have chosen. A small diamond on a white gold band. I said yes while crying, and he slipped it on my finger, and we stayed in that park until the stars came out. We decided on a September wedding. Small but meaningful. We wanted something intimate, something that felt like us. We found a beautiful venue, a small chapel with a garden reception area in Round Rock. The budget was modest. We planned for 50 guests maximum. I wanted my family there desperately. Despite the complicated dynamics, despite Jennifer's comments, they were my family. I couldn't imagine getting married without them. I spent 3 evenings in July handwriting 38 invitations to extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends who'd known me since childhood. I wrote each one carefully, personally. The invitation for Jennifer was special. I asked her to be my maid of honor. Despite everything, she was my sister. I wanted her standing beside me. I mailed all the invitations in early August, 7 weeks before the wedding. I used my parents' address as the return address since I was still organizing details and wanted everything centralized. 2 days after I mailed them, I visited my parents for Sunday dinner. Jennifer was there with Brian. Over dessert, I mentioned the wedding invitations. I sent them all out this week. I said, excited. Everyone should get them in the next few days. Jennifer looked up from her pie. That's so exciting. I can help coordinate family RSVPs if you want. I'm pretty organized with that kind of thing. I felt grateful. Planning a wedding while working 12-hour shifts was overwhelming. That would be amazing, actually. Thank you. She smiled at me across the table, and I thought how nice it was that we were connecting over this. How maybe my wedding would bring us closer. I had no idea I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. The week before the wedding arrived, and I was drowning in final details. Confirming the caterer, finalizing the music playlist, pressing my dress, but something felt wrong. I hadn't received a single RSVP from my family. Thomas' side had responded within 2 weeks. 43 confirmed guests from his family and our mutual friends. But from my family? Nothing. Not from my parents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, not even from Jennifer. On the Tuesday before the Saturday wedding, I called my mother at work. Mom, did you get the wedding invitation? Silence on the other end. Then, what invitation, honey? My stomach dropped. The wedding invitation I mailed 6 weeks ago. To you and Dad. Lourdes, we didn't receive any invitation. Are you getting married? I felt dizzy. Yes, this Saturday. I sent you an invitation. I handwrote it. Sweetheart, we haven't gotten anything. Maybe there was a postal error. I called my Aunt Amanda next. Same response. She hadn't received anything. I called cousins Sarah, Uncle Joe, Aunt Marie. One by one, they all said the same thing. No invitation. They had no idea I was getting married. Panic clawed at my throat. I called Jennifer. Did you get your invitation? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. No, I haven't seen anything, she said, sounding concerned. That's so weird. Have you checked with the post office? Everyone's saying they didn't get them. All 38 invitations. Oh, Lourdes. I'm so sorry. That's awful. Her sympathy sounded genuine. Want me to personally call everyone and let them know? I can give them all the details. Would you? That would help so much. She called me back 3 hours later. I talked to everyone I could reach. Most people already have plans for this weekend. It's such short notice. I'm really sorry. I sat on my bathroom floor and cried. Thomas found me there, held me while I sobbed against his chest. Well, have the people who matter, he whispered. My family loves you. Your friends will be there. It'll still be beautiful. But it wasn't the same. I wanted my parents. I wanted my family. The wedding day arrived. September 21st. A perfect sunny Saturday morning with a light breeze and temperature in the mid-70s. The chapel was decorated exactly as Eid envisioned. White roses and ivy everywhere, soft lighting, beautiful and intimate. 43 guests filled the small chapel. Thomas' parents, his 2 brothers and their families, his friends from the fire station, my 3 best friends from nursing school. But from my side? Empty pews. Not a single member of my own family. I stood in the small bridal room, looking at myself in the mirror in my white dress, and felt hollow. My friend Casey tried to fix my makeup, but I kept crying. Who was going to walk me down the aisle? Who was going to help me get ready? Tell me I looked beautiful? Share this moment? When the music started, I walked down that aisle alone. I saw Thomas waiting at the altar, and the look on his face almost broke me. He saw my pain. He saw the empty seats where my family should have been. His eyes filled with tears matching mine. The ceremony was beautiful. The officiant spoke about love and commitment. Thomas held my hands and promised to love me in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, until death parted us. I made the same promises, meaning every word, but I kept glancing at those empty pews, feeling their absence like a physical wound. The reception in the garden was lovely. Thomas' mother hugged me for a long time, trying to fill the void. You're my daughter now too, she whispered. I'm here. We're all here. People danced. The food was delicious. Our first dance as husband and wife was to a song Thomas had chosen, and he held me close and whispered, I'm sorry they weren't here. But I'm here. I'll always be here. During a quiet moment, I texted my mother from the reception. I got married today. You weren't here. She responded 20 minutes later. What? We weren't invited. Congratulations, I guess. That response felt like a slap. Congratulations, I guess. As if my wedding was something minor, an afterthought. We left for our honeymoon to Colorado the next morning. The mountains were beautiful. The small cabin we'd rented was perfect, but the joy was tainted. I couldn't stop thinking about my family's absence, about how I'd walked down that aisle alone, about the empty seats. 2 weeks after we returned to Austin, I went to Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I needed to see them, to try to understand. Thomas came with me, meeting my parents for the first time as my husband. The dinner was awkward. My parents were polite to Thomas but distant with me. There was an undercurrent of hurt feelings, like I'd deliberately excluded them from something important. I wish I could have helped you get ready, my mother said quietly over dinner. Mothers are supposed to be there for that. I wanted you there, Mom. I sent an invitation. We never received one, honey. Jennifer was there with Brian. She hugged me when we arrived, said all the right things. I'm so sorry we all missed it. I tried calling everyone, but it was such short notice. After dinner, she pulled me aside into the hallway. Maybe this is for the best, she said quietly. Thomas seems great, but you rushed into this. You barely knew him. Maybe keeping it small was smarter. The comment felt off, wrong somehow, but I was too tired, too emotionally drained to analyze it. I just nodded and went home. That night, lying in bed in our new house in Pflugerville, Thomas held my hand in the darkness. Your sister's comment was strange, he said. She was just trying to make me feel better. Maybe. He didn't sound convinced. Just keep your eyes open, okay? I didn't understand what he meant then. I would later. Thomas and I settled into married life in our small house in Pflugerville. It was a modest 2-bedroom with a backyard, close enough to both our jobs. I loved everything about it. Coming home to him every day, cooking dinner together, falling asleep next to someone who loved me completely, but my relationship with my family was fractured, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. Monthly dinners at my parents' house continued, but they felt different now, strained. My parents were kind to Thomas, but there was distance in their eyes when they looked at me, like they couldn't quite forgive me for getting married without them there. Jennifer made small comments that seemed innocuous on the surface but felt pointed. "How's married life treating you?" Shed asked with a strange edge in her voice. "Thomas must be really special for you to cut us all out of the wedding like that." "I didn't cut anyone out. It'd say frustration building. I sent invitations. Something went wrong with the mail." "Of course," Shed say, but her tone implied she didn't believe me. My cousin Amanda pulled me aside at an October dinner, 2 months after the wedding. "It hurt that you didn't want us there, Lourdes. I always thought we were close. I did want you there. I sent you an invitation." She looked at me with doubt in her eyes. "If you say so." I felt increasingly isolated from my own family. They were polite but distant. Conversations felt forced. I started dreading those monthly dinners instead of looking forward to them. In early November, 3 months after the wedding, Jennifer hosted what she called a belated wedding celebration at her house. She invited the whole extended family. On the surface, it seemed generous, a chance for everyone to celebrate our marriage. But during the party, she made a speech that made my skin crawl. "Even though we couldn't be at the actual wedding, we're all here now to celebrate Lourdes and Thomas. Better late than never, right?" The phrasing was subtle but clear. She was placing the blame for their absence on me, on my choices, not on whatever had happened to those invitations. Later that evening, I was getting a drink in Jennifer's kitchen when I overheard her talking to our Aunt Marie in the hallway. She was so secretive about the whole thing. Jennifer was saying, "Thomas was just divorced." I think she was embarrassed. I froze, glass in hand. That wasn't true. I hadn't been secretive. I'd sent invitations. I'd wanted everyone there. Thomas found me in the kitchen, saw my face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I lied. But on the drive home, I told him what I'd overheard. His jaw tightened. "Your sister's playing some kind of game. Why would she do that?" "I don't know. But watch her, Lourdes. Something's not right." I wanted to defend Jennifer. She was my sister. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Thomas was right. Christmas came in December, 4 months after the wedding. We gathered at my parents' house for gift exchange. The living room was crowded with family. The tree lit up in the corner, carols playing softly. Jennifer handed me a wrapped gift with a big smile. I opened it in front of everyone. It was a wedding memory book. Beautiful white leather with blank pages. "For your wedding memories," Jennifer announced to the room. "Since we don't have photos from getting ready with you or being there to see you walk down the aisle, you can fill this with whatever memories you have." The room went quiet. The gift felt like a weapon, a pointed reminder to everyone that they'd missed my wedding, that I'd somehow kept them away. I forced a smile. "Thank you." That night I cried in Thomas' arms again. "Why is this happening? Why does it feel like I'm being punished for getting married?" "Because your sister's making sure you are," he said quietly. "But why?" "I don't know yet. But well, figure it out." I went back to work, threw myself into caring for sick children, tried to find normalcy, but every family interaction left me feeling worse. More isolated, more confused. January arrived, 5 months after the wedding. I had to drop off some medical forms at my parents' house. They both worked during the day, and they'd asked me to use my spare key to leave the documents on the kitchen counter since they had important deadlines. I let myself in on a Wednesday afternoon. The house smelled like my childhood, like my mother's lavender sachets and my father's coffee. I left the forms on the counter and was about to leave when I remembered something. Years ago, I'd made a photo album for a high school project. My mother had kept it, stored it somewhere. I wanted to show Thomas photos of me as a teenager, and I thought it might be in my old bedroom closet where my parents stored miscellaneous items. I went upstairs, opened the closet in what used to be my room, boxes of old decorations, winter clothes, random items stacked on shelves. On the top shelf, I had to stand on a chair to reach, I saw a stack of mail. Curious, I pulled it down, and my heart stopped. They were envelopes, addressed to various family members. In my handwriting, wedding invitations, unopened, hidden. My hands started shaking as I counted them. 26 invitations, all the ones I'd sent to family members. None of them delivered, all of them sitting on this shelf, hidden away where no one would find them. But why were they here? And how? I looked closer at the return address on each envelope. My breath caught. It wasn't my parents' address like I'd requested. It was Jennifer's address. Jennifer's street, Jennifer's house number. Shed intercepted them somehow. Changed the return address. Hidden them. But why? I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and took photos of every envelope. Then I took 3 of them as physical evidence, putting them in my purse. I left the rest on the shelf, though my instinct was to take them all. I drove home in a daze. When I walked through the door, Thomas took one look at my face and put down what he was doing. What happened? I showed him the photos. Showed him the envelopes he'd taken. His face went hard. She sabotaged your wedding. Your own sister sabotaged your wedding. But how did she get them? They were mailed to my parents' house. We sat at the kitchen table and pieced it together. Jennifer had volunteered to help coordinate RSVPs. She lived only 2 miles from my parents. During the day, when both my parents worked, the mailbox would have been accessible. She could have easily checked it every day, waiting for those invitations to arrive. When they did, she took them, all of them, changed the return address to her own somehow. Or maybe she'd convinced me to use her address as return, and I'd forgotten in the wedding stress. I couldn't remember clearly. Then she hid them so no one would ever know about the wedding. My own sister had stolen my family from my wedding day. We need to confront her, Thomas said. Not yet. I need to understand why first. And I need more proof, but I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly why. And it was going to break something in me when I confirmed it. The next morning, I called the post office from my office at the hospital during a break. I explained the situation to a patient clerk who checked the records for me. All 38 invitations were delivered to the address you provided, she confirmed. In mid-August, all on the same day. To my parents' address? Let me check. A pause. No, ma'am, they were delivered to a different address. She read off Jennifer's street address. My stomach sank. I must have put Jennifer's address as the return address without realizing. Or Shed told me to for some reason I couldn't remember. Either way, the invitations had gone to her house, and Shed kept them all. I spent the next 3 weeks gathering more evidence. I needed to know the full extent of what Shed done before I confronted anyone. In mid-February, 6 months after the wedding, I drove to Jennifer's house on a Tuesday afternoon when I knew Brian would be at work. She answered the door in yoga pants and a sweatshirt, surprised to see me. Lourdes? What are you doing here? I held up one of the envelopes. I found these at Mom and Dad's house. Can you explain? Her face went pale, then defensive. I was trying to protect you. Protect me from what? From making a mistake. Her voice rose. You barely knew Thomas. He was just divorced. You were rushing into something huge. That wasn't your decision to make. Someone had to stop you. She crossed her arms. You were going to ruin your life, so you stole my wedding from me? You kept my family away. I did you a favor, but her voice cracked. You always get everything so easy. Good job, lots of friends, and then a perfect husband just falls into your lap. There it was, the truth under the excuses. This is about jealousy. Her face twisted. I spent a year planning my wedding. A whole year. You got engaged and married in 3 months. It wasn't fair. So you sabotaged me. You don't deserve him. The words came out in a rush. I saw him first. My mind went blank. What? At the fire department charity gala? In May, the year before you met him? We talked for 20 minutes. He was funny, kind, handsome. I was interested. Really interested. I remembered Thomas mentioning that gala. Had been there with other firefighters for a fundraiser, but had never mentioned meeting Jennifer. Then I found out he was married. She continued, separated but married. So I backed off. But I kept thinking about him. And then his divorce went through, and I thought maybe there was a chance, and then I started dating him. I finished quietly. You stole him from me. Her eyes were wild now. I could have had that life, that marriage, that happiness. But you took it. He wasn't yours to take, Jennifer. He never even called you. Because you got to him first. No, because he didn't want to. He met me months later, and we chose each other. You can't sabotage someone's life because you're jealous. Watch me. Her voice turned cold. I did exactly that. What else did you do? My voice was steady despite my shaking hands. She laughed, a brittle sound. You want a full confession? Fine. I didn't just hide the invitations. I called Thomas' ex-wife, told her about the wedding date and location, suggested she might want to show up, maybe object during the ceremony. Horror washed through me. Jennifer. She didn't do it, obviously, but I tried. I also called your venue 3 days before the wedding. Pretended to be you. Tried to cancel the whole thing. They called me to confirm. I whispered. That's why it didn't work. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I had a whole plan, and it mostly fell apart. But I got what I wanted. Your family wasn't there. You walked down that aisle alone. That was enough. I stared at my sister, this person I'd grown up with, and saw a stranger. Why are you telling me this? Because you can't prove any of it. Your family thinks you excluded them. They'll never fully trust you again. I won. Even if you tell them, who are they going to believe? I pulled out my phone. I recorded this entire conversation. Her face went white. You wouldn't. Watch me. I turned and walked to my car. She followed, calling my name, but I drove away without looking back. At home, I played the recording for Thomas. His face cycled through shock, rage, and finally grim determination. We have everything now, he said. The envelopes. This recording. My ex-wife will confirm Jennifer contacted her. The venue will confirm the cancellation attempt. What do we do with it? We wait for the right moment, and then we tell everyone the truth. That moment came at Thanksgiving. 9 months after I'd found those hidden invitations. 9 months of keeping this secret. Of playing nice at family dinners. Of watching Jennifer play the concerned sister while poisoning my relationships. We were done waiting. Thanksgiving arrived 14 months after our wedding. My parents hosted as always, their house in South Austin filled with the smells of roasting turkey and pumpkin pie. 23 family members packed into the dining room and living room, tables pushed together, voices loud and happy. Thomas and I arrived at noon with dishes to share. Sweet potato casserole and homemade rolls. My mother hugged us both, and my father shook Thomas' hand. The greeting was warmer than it had been in months. Time had softened some of the hurt, though the distance remained. Jennifer was already there with Brian, holding court in the kitchen with a glass of wine, telling some story about a client that had everyone laughing. She saw me and waved. All smiles. I'd been carrying the weight of her betrayal for 9 months, watching her pretend to be my loving sister while knowing what she'd done. It had been almost unbearable. But Thomas and I had agreed. We'd wait for Thanksgiving. When everyone was together, when the truth would have the most impact. We'd built an ironclad case. The original envelopes with Jennifer's return address. The recording of her confession. Documentation from Thomas' ex-wife confirming Jennifer had contacted her. An email from the venue coordinator about the suspicious cancellation call. Text message screenshots where Jennifer had told family members I wanted a private ceremony, that Thomas and I had broken up, that I was embarrassed of them. Everything was in a folder on my phone and in physical copies in my purse. Dinner proceeded normally. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, all the traditional dishes, conversations about work, upcoming holidays, cousin Sarah's new boyfriend. Jennifer dominated the conversation as always, talking about a promotion she'd just received. I ate quietly, Thomas' hand resting on my knee under the table, a steadying presence. Dessert came out. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie, coffee and tea. Everyone was relaxed, full, happy. That's when Jennifer stood up. She was on her 4th glass of wine. Her cheeks were flushed, her movements slightly loose. She picked up her wine glass and tapped it with a fork. I want to make a toast, she announced. The room quieted. To my baby sister Lourdes. My heart started pounding. Thomas' hand tightened on my knee. You're 28 now, Jennifer continued, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Still single. Still living alone in that little apartment. Still waiting for Mr. Right to come along. Wait. What? Maybe next year will be your year, she said, raising her glass. Harry's hoping you find what the rest of us have. The room laughed uncomfortably. My mother looked confused. My father frowned. Cousin Amanda smiled awkwardly. Uncle Joe raised his glass. I realized with crystal clarity what Jennifer had done. She'd been telling the family that Thomas and I had separated. That our marriage hadn't lasted. That I was single again. The lies had never stopped. Even after Eid confronted her. She'd just adapted. I stood up slowly. My chair scraped against the floor. Everyone looked at me. Actually, Jennifer, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I got married. 8 months ago. I paused. Wait, no. 14 months ago. I'm still married. Very happily married. The room went completely silent. You could hear the kitchen clock ticking. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the photo of our marriage certificate. Here is proof. I handed my phone to my mother. September 21st, last year. Thomas Walker and Lourdes Garcia. My mother stared at the screen, her mouth open. She passed the phone to my father. He looked at it, then at me, then at Jennifer. But Jennifer said you two separated. My mother whispered. We never separated. We live together in Pflugerville. We've been married for 14 months. Jennifer lied. Among other things. I opened my photo album, started passing my phone around. Wedding photos. Me in my dress, walking down the aisle alone. Thomas and me at the altar. Our first dance. Honeymoon photos from Colorado. Recent pictures of us at home. At restaurants. Living our married life. Family members passed the phone around. Faces showing confusion and shock. Aunt Amanda's eyes filled with tears. You got married? We didn't know. You didn't know because Jennifer made sure you didn't know. I reached into my purse and pulled out the 3 envelopes, the original wedding invitations. I placed them on the table. These are why none of you were at my wedding. My mother picked up the envelope addressed to her and my father. Unopened, she looked at the return address. This is Jennifer's address. Jennifer intercepted every invitation from your mailbox. She hid them so none of you would know about the wedding. There are 23 more at your house, Mom. Top shelf of my old bedroom closet. Raymond stood up, walked over, picked up one of the envelopes. His face went dark red. Jennifer's face had gone from flushed to pale. I was trying to protect everyone. From what? I asked. From attending my wedding. You barely knew him. He was just divorced. Thomas spoke for the first time, his voice calm and level. We met at your charity gala, Jennifer. May. 2 years ago. You gave me your number. I didn't call because I was still married and trying to work things out with my ex-wife. Jennifer froze. When that didn't work and I met Lourdes 5 months later, you were furious. He continued, not because you cared about her well-being, because you wanted me for yourself. The room erupted. Multiple people started talking at once. Brian stared at his wife. You never told me you met him. Jennifer looked around the room, desperate. Hes lying. I pulled out my phone again, pulled up the screenshots. Here are text messages where you told various family members that I wanted a private ceremony with no family. That Thomas and I had broken up, that I was embarrassed of you all. I started reading them aloud. Amanda, quote, Lourdes wanted something really small, just close friends. I think she's embarrassed about how fast it happened. Aunt Amanda gasped. You told me that. You said not to bother her about it. Sarah, quote, they broke up actually. Give her space. She doesn't want to talk about it. Cousin Sarah stood up. You told me that 3 months ago, Marie, quote, she didn't want you there because she thinks you talk too much and would embarrass her. Aunt Mary's face crumpled. That's cruel. My mother was crying now, clutching the envelope. I missed my daughter's wedding because of you. There's more, I said quietly. I pulled out the printed email from the venue. Jennifer called our wedding venue 2 days before the ceremony. Pretended to be me. tried to cancel our entire wedding. I handed the email to my father. He read it, his face getting redder with each line. This documents a call from someone claiming to be Lourdes, trying to cancel the booking. The venue coordinator called me to confirm because something felt off, I explained. That's the only reason our wedding happened at all. Jennifer tried to speak, but I kept going. Jennifer also contacted Thomas' ex-wife, told her about our wedding date and location, encouraged her to show up and object. Thomas nodded. My ex-wife called me, confused. She thought it was strange that someone she'd never met was giving her our wedding information. She sent me a text showing Jennifer's phone number. Brian stood up suddenly. His chair fell backward. Wait. You did all of this? You tried to destroy their wedding. Jennifer's voice rose. Because it was a mistake. He was just divorced. She barely knew him. That wasn't your choice to make, my father said, his voice hard and cold. And you told everyone we broke up. I continued. You've been lying for over a year? Making sure I stayed isolated from my family. Jennifer's face twisted. You don't understand. I saw him first. At that gala. We talked. We connected. I thought I had a chance. You were married. Brian said slowly. You're still married. To me. I know. But he was different. Special. And then she got him. Jennifer pointed at me. She always gets everything easy. You have no idea what it's like being her sister. Everyone loves Lourdes. Sweet Lourdes, kind Lourdes. I'm the older sister who tries too hard. So you sabotaged her life. My mother's voice was shaking. You stole her wedding day from her? Made her walk down the aisle alone. I thought I was saving her from a mistake. No, Thomas said firmly. You were punishing her for being happy. Brian picked up his car keys from the side table. Everyone watched as he walked to the door. Brian. Jennifer followed him. Where are you going? He turned to look at her, and his face was full of disgust. Away from you. I need to think about whether I still know who you are. He walked out. We heard his car start. Heard him drive away. Jennifer stood in the doorway, mascara starting to run, and turned back to face the room. Every person there looked at her with shock, disappointment, or anger. Her perfect mask had finally cracked, and everyone could see what was underneath. My mother was sobbing. My father had his arm around her. Aunt Amanda was shaking her head. Cousin Sarah looked sick, and I felt, for the first time in 14 months, like I could finally breathe. The Thanksgiving dinner dissolved into chaos. Jennifer tried to defend herself, but every word made things worse. I was protecting this family, she insisted, her voice rising. From what? My father demanded. From happiness? From love? From her making a huge mistake with someone she barely knew? Thomas stood up, his calm presence somehow making him seem taller. You keep saying that, Jennifer. But here's the truth. Lourdes and I dated for 6 months before I proposed. We knew each other well. We built something real. You were just divorced. Jennifer shot back. My divorce was final for 2 months before we even went on our first date. He corrected. And it had been over emotionally for a year before that. You know this. You know all of this because you asked around. You called my fire station pretending to be updating contact information. Jennifer's eyes widened. She hadn't known we knew about that. Captain Davis told me about it. Thomas continued. Said some woman called asking detailed questions about my marital status and living situation. He thought it was strange, but I didn't connect it to you until later. My Aunt Marie stood up. Jennifer, you told me Lourdes didn't want me at the wedding because I talked too much and would embarrass her? I was just trying to spare your feelings. Jennifer said weakly. By making up a cruel lie. Mary's voice broke. I've spent over a year thinking my niece was ashamed of me. Cousin Sarah pulled out her phone. You texted me in August saying they'd broken up and I shouldn't mention the wedding to Lourdes. You said it was too painful for her. I have those texts too, I said. I saved everything once I started realizing what you'd done. My mother stood up, still clutching that wedding invitation. Do you understand what you stole from me? I will never get to see my daughter walk down the aisle. I will never get to help her get ready on her wedding morning. I will never have those memories. They're gone forever because of you. Mom, I'm sorry. Jennifer started. Don't. My mother's voice was sharp. Don't apologize to me. Every single thing you've said tonight has been a lie or a manipulation. I don't even know who you are anymore. My father went upstairs and came back with the box of hidden invitations from my old closet. He dumped them on the table. 26 envelopes scattered across the Thanksgiving dishes. Each one a stolen moment, a prevented memory. You kept these in our house, he said. In our home. You used us to hurt your sister. Jennifer's face crumpled. Daddy, please. You need to leave, he said. Now. This is a family dinner. You stopped being part of this family the moment you sabotaged your sister's wedding. His voice was final. Cold. Get out. Jennifer looked around the room. Not a single person met her eyes. Not one voice rose in her defense. Even the cousins who'd always liked her looked away. She gathered her purse, her coat. At the door, she turned back one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not, I said. You're sorry you got caught. That's different. She left. The door closed behind her. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then my mother crossed to me and pulled me into her arms. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. My father hugged us both. We should have questioned it more. We should have called you. We should have known something was wrong. She was convincing, I said. She knew exactly what to say to make it seem real. Thomas showed everyone more photos on his phone. Our wedding day, our honeymoon, our life together. Family members crowded around, looking at everything they'd missed. My mother kept wiping her eyes. Aunt Amanda was openly crying. You looked so beautiful, my mother whispered, looking at a photo of me in my dress. I wish you could have been there to see it. So do I, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. We stayed at my parents' house for hours after that, talking through everything. I showed them the full recording of Jennifer's confession, the email from the venue, the texts, every piece of evidence. My family needed to understand the full scope of what had happened. Around 8 that evening, Brian called my father's phone. He asked to speak to me. Lourdes, I didn't know, he said, his voice rough. I swear to God, I didn't know any of this. I believe you. She told me you wanted a small wedding, that you and Thomas broke up after a few months. I thought we were staying out of it to respect your privacy. He paused. I'm filing for separation. Brian, you don't have to do that because of this. Yes, I do. She tried to destroy your marriage before it even started. She lied to everyone for over a year. She was obsessed with your husband. His voice hardened. I don't know this person. I don't want to be married to someone capable of this. He did file 2 weeks later. Jennifer moved into an apartment in North Austin, alone. The weeks after that Thanksgiving were strange. My phone rang constantly. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends, all calling to apologize, to express their shock, to ask if they could see more wedding photos. My mother called every day, sometimes just to hear my voice, sometimes to cry and apologize again. I keep thinking about you walking down that aisle alone, she'd say. It breaks my heart. I wasn't alone, I'd remind her gently. Thomas was waiting for me. His family was there. My best friends were there. I was surrounded by love. But we should have been there too. She was right. They should have been. But slowly, I was learning to forgive. Not to forget, but to forgive. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, my parents called and asked if Thomas and I could come to dinner. Just the 4 of us. When we arrived, the dining room table was covered with old photo albums. We want to know everything, my father said. About how you met, how you fell in love, the proposal, all of it. So we sat for hours, drinking coffee and tea, telling them our story. How Thomas had carried that little boy into the emergency room. How his eyes had met mine. How we'd built something real and true during those careful months of dating. My mother cried through most of it. Happy tears, sad tears, tears of regret for what she'd missed. But she was there now. They both were. I want to do something, my mother said suddenly. A wedding celebration. A real one, with everyone. I started to protest, but she raised her hand. Please. I need this. We all need this. Let us celebrate you properly. So, 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, my parents rented a small event space in Austin. They invited all the family members who'd missed the original wedding. 52 people showed up, filling the room with love and noise. I wore my wedding dress again. It still fit perfectly. Thomas wore his suit. We recreated our first dance in front of my family. This time, they saw it. This time, they were part of it. My father made a speech that had everyone crying. I wasn't there to walk my daughter down the aisle. That's something I'll regret for the rest of my life. But I'm here now, and I want everyone to know that Thomas Walker is a good man, a kind man, and am proud to call him my son. My mother spoke next. I missed seeing Lourdes get ready. I missed helping with her dress, fixing her hair, all those mother-daughter moments you dream about, but I see now how strong she is. She walked down that aisle alone and still said her vows with love and hope. That's the daughter I raised, and I'm so incredibly proud. The party lasted until midnight. There was dancing and laughter and so much love. Cousins I hadn't talked to in months hugged me and apologized. Aunts shared stories. Uncles toasted Thomas and welcomed him to the family properly. It wasn't the same as having them at my actual wedding. It couldn't be. But it healed something that had been broken inside me. Jennifer wasn't invited. She wasn't mentioned. It was like she'd been erased from that part of our family narrative. She reached out to me in March, 4 months after Thanksgiving. An email, not a call. She asked if we could meet for coffee. I was hesitant. Thomas offered to come with me. I accepted his support. We met at a small cafe in central Austin on a Saturday morning. Jennifer looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was shorter. She wore no makeup, which was unusual for her. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I just nodded. I'm in therapy, 3 times a week, working through why I did what I did. Okay. My therapist says I have issues with self-worth, that I've been competing with you our whole lives because I felt inferior. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I saw Thomas that night at the gala, and we talked for maybe 20 minutes. But I built it up in my head into something more, and when he met you instead, I felt like you'd stolen something that was mine. He was never yours, I said gently. I know that now. I know how irrational it all was. She looked up at me, and her eyes were red. You were walking around so happy, planning this wedding, and all I could think was that it should be me. I should have that happiness. So you tried to take mine away. Yes. And I'm so sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. I stole your wedding day. I isolated you from your family. I tried to sabotage your marriage before it even started. Tears ran down her face. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I understand how wrong I was. Thomas spoke for the first time. Are you apologizing because you're sorry, or because you lost everything? Jennifer flinched. Both. Is that terrible? It's honest, he said. I sat with my coffee, looking at my sister. This person I'd grown up with, who'd become a stranger. I can't forgive you yet. What you did was unforgivable. But maybe someday, if you keep doing the work, if you really change, that's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. We didn't hug when we left, but there was a small crack in the wall between us. Not reconciliation, but the distant possibility of it. Someday, maybe. Brian's divorce from Jennifer was finalized in July. 8 months after that Thanksgiving, he moved on quickly, started dating someone new. I heard through the family that Jennifer was still alone, still in therapy, working on herself. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me didn't. She'd made her choices. Now she lived with the consequences. Thomas and I celebrated our 2nd wedding anniversary in September. We went back to Colorado, to the mountains where we'd spent our honeymoon. But this time, the trip was pure joy. No shadow of family betrayal hanging over us. Do you ever regret it? Thomas asked one evening as we sat on the cabin porch watching the sunset. Marrying me, given everything that happened. I took his hand. Never. Not for a single second. Jennifer tried to destroy us before we even started, but we made it. We're stronger because of it. Your family came back to you. They did, and that matters. But even if they hadn't, I'd still choose you. Every single time. He kissed me, and I tasted coffee and chapstick and home. 1 year after the Thanksgiving confrontation, my parents hosted the holiday again. This time, it was different. Lighter, honest. 26 family members gathered, and the conversation was full of laughter. Thomas fit seamlessly into the chaos. Cousins joked with him. Uncles talked football with him. My mother fussed over him like he was her own son. During dessert, Thomas and I exchanged glances. He nodded. I stood up. We have an announcement, I said. The room quieted. We're pregnant. Due in May. My mother screamed and jumped up, hugging me so hard I could barely breathe. My father shook Thomas' hand with tears in his eyes. The whole family erupted in celebration. I get to be at this one, my mother said, crying and laughing at the same time. The baby shower, the birth, all of it, all of it. I promised. That night, driving home with Thomas, I thought about everything we'd been through. The sabotage, the lies, the isolation, the long months of not knowing why my family had abandoned me on my wedding day. The pain of walking down that aisle alone. But also the healing. The truth coming to light. My family coming back to me. Justice being served, not through revenge, but through simple, honest revelation of what had happened. Jennifer had tried to destroy my happiness because she couldn't stand that I had something she wanted. Shed tried to take my husband, my wedding, my family. Shed lost her own marriage, her place in the family, her sense of self in the process. I didn't celebrate her downfall, but I didn't mourn it either. Shed made her choices. Shed have to live with them. As for me, I'd learned that love, real love, can survive almost anything. That truth has a way of surfacing eventually. That family bonds can break and heal, though they'll always carry scars. That standing up for yourself isn't cruel, it's necessary. I'd learned that the people who really love you will believe you, will fight for you, will choose you even when it's hard. I'd learned that walking down the aisle alone didn't make me less married. It made me stronger. Because I chose Thomas anyway. Because I said my vows, meaning every word, even with empty pews where my family should have been. And I'd learned that sometimes the greatest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply living well, building a good life, being happy despite someone else's attempts to tear you down. Jennifer tried to steal my wedding day, but she couldn't steal my marriage. She couldn't steal my love. She couldn't steal my future. I got everything I wanted. A husband who loves me completely. A family who came back to me. A baby on the way. A life full of hope and possibility. Not because it was easy, not because it was handed to me, but because I fought for it. Because when the truth mattered most, I told it. Because I refused to let someone else's bitterness dim my light. And that made it all the more worth it. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you handle it? Did you confront them? Or did you walk away? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you feel something real, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming family challenges and finding strength in difficult situations. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they deserve to fight for their happiness. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that truth always finds a way to surface, and that your happiness is worth protecting, no matter who tries to take it from you. Wishing you all love, healing, and the courage to stand up for yourself.